My name is Nick. I recently moved to a town in North Denver from Louisiana. I am in recovery from heroin addiction and really needed to change locations. After spending all summer in treatment, I decided to come here to do sober living. That was roughly 3 weeks ago. Since we have curfew here and can't go to where most people my age are on the weekends, the guys here and myself spend a lot of nights just hanging at the house. Tonight was movie night, and given we are closing in on October, we decided to get some horror flicks. Nothing says guys night like trying not to freak out around each other. So I went to the redbox at the King Supers on the corner to pick one up. We settled on Sinister, since most of the guys haven't seen it, and I pirated the second one, so we can watch them back to back. After picking some snacks, we, which myself and my roommates Andrew and Rick, sat on the couch to start the night around 10 p.m. Mountain Time. When opening the case, I noticed something odd. Instead of Sinister, all that was in the case was a DVD rewritable with decisions written on it. It looked almost exactly like System of a Down's Still This Album. My first thought was someone rented 2 movies and accidentally switched the cases. I'm not sure this is the case now. I put the movie in the DVD player and pressed play. There was no trailers, no main menu, no nothing. The only thing that popped up was a blank screen with, "For an optimal viewing experience, please insert disc in a computer." I pressed every button on the remote twice. Nothing happened. We are all fairly confused at this point, but at the same time, intrigued. It is already past curfew, so we can't just run to the store and exchange it for something else. I just got a new computer, a 17-inch Asus G series, so I decided, what the hell? It won't be a problem to hook it up to the TV. I took the HDMI out of the DVD player, plugged it into my laptop and changed the monitor settings, yada yada yada. I put the movie in the computer and autoplayed in VLC. It also fully screened automatically and turned the sound on the computer all the way up. Whether this was shot with the GoPro, regular camera, I don't know. The beginning of the video was shot in the woods. From behind the camera, a guy steps out and gets front and center. He looked like a stereotypical hunter, dressed in all camo. Bigger guy for sure, at least 225 pounds, longish unkept hair and really shaggy beard. You can tell by his eyes and his sniffling he has been crying and keeps looking all around extremely paranoid. He tries to speak multiple times over the next 45 or so seconds, but the words stay caught in his throat because of the sobbing. When the words finally come out, this is what he says. My name is Dennis McCleary. I don't know who will be watching this. I just want to have a movie night with my girls. I've been working so much, I just wanted to spend time with... God, I love them so much. I thought it was a joke, some kid playing a prank, but he breaks down uncontrollably during this time. The amount of pain that come out of this man is something which can't be fake or acted. But then I found her, my little girl, my baby girl. He fucking took her from me. I can't lose Lizzie too. He said if I do this, she'll be okay. She's all I have. He stopped talking and seemed to look to the right of the camera and ducked down as if he was hiding from something or someone. Slowly he walked to the camera, which seemed to be on a tripod, and it turned roughly 180 degrees. It was a log-style house through a clearing in the bushes, like maybe 30 yards away. From that angle you can tell this was in the mountains somewhere, most likely the Rockies. Outside the house a man was on a ladder and seemingly cleaning out his gutters. Dennis slowly walks through the bushes and towards the man. The man on the ladder notices him, climbs down, and there seems to be 8 seconds of inaudible conversation. Dennis pulled a gun from behind his camo jacket and fires a round in the gut of the man. I don't remember what was louder, the gun firing, the screams of the man, or the scream which left my mouth. Dennis runs to the camera, grabs it, and runs for the woods. The video fast forwards at like 4 times or 8 times speed. I'm not sure. The remote was still on the coffee table. After what seemed like minutes of running through the woods at ultra fast speed, the video finally resumed at a normal rate. He emerged through the woods at some intersection of highway. The breathing was super heavy. That was all you heard, until the screech of brakes locking up, tires sliding on pavement, and police sirens came all at once. There was more running through the foliage, until he stops and says, "I love you, Lizzie," and fired another shot. The camera dropped in like some fucking cheesy horror movie and landed perfectly to give you a great view of a guy with half his face missing. The video then ended. Then the screen minimized. Then Notepad popped up on my screen. This is the part where I started freaking out. Apparently the movie wasn't the only thing that was on that disc. There had to be a rat on it as well. Someone started typing. What the person was typing was actually my IP address. Then it said, "I know you live. I know your name. Nick." I guess he got this from my PC name. "Don't tell authorities. I'll be in touch with the next instructions. After that, the decision is yours." After 10 seconds, blue screen. I don't remember all we said to each other. It was a mixture of panic, fear, confusion, and disbelief. Those feelings were multiplied after the guys and I stumbled upon an article. Luckily for me, I was able to boot into Linux Mint and connect to Reddit via Tor. Hopefully that will end any control over my PC. So guys, what in the actual fuck do we do? Wait, call the cops? See how this plays out? It's pretty fucked up. I've been meaning to write this down for a while because it was one of the strangest things that's happened to me. It doesn't freak me out like it used to, but I would love to revisit this particular road if I can find it again. To be honest, I'm slightly doubtful that I would have the same experience. Anyway, I spend my summers in northern Michigan on a very beautiful lake. Part of the charm of the north is the wildlife and beautiful sunsets in the summer weather. Honestly, it's just amazing. But one evening, after eating dinner on the porch, my dad suggests we go looking for deer. I was young at that time, I think maybe around 10 or 11. To be honest, spending time in the truck didn't sound too appealing, but seeing deer was pretty cool. If you go out around dawn or dusk, you tend to see them a lot. I'm not sure if deer are nocturnal or not, but I feel like you see them just a little more in the evening, especially if you just happen to be cruising on rural roads looking for them. Anyway, me, my parents, and my 2 younger brothers all got in the truck, and my dad drove us out to an area he wanted to check out. It's kind of funny. There aren't really any attractions by definition, but it's pretty fun to just explore the forest around you, especially in different areas. They're all a little different. We drove maybe about 30 minutes away from our cottage until we came to a pretty cool area. My dad said he'd seen a lot of deer last time he drove down it. Not to mention, it was pretty flat and straight road, an easy drive. My brothers and I got to ride in the truck bed with our feet dangling off the edge. Keep in mind, we were going very slow. The first hour or so was very uneventful. A couple deer back in the trees. My brothers and I would slide off and then run and jump back into the truck bed, or try to race it by running. My dad even let us drive, sitting on his lap while he controlled the speed. It felt so illegal and fun driving at my age. Then I started to notice things. The road was a bit lower than a forest on either side of the road. The banks leading up to the tree line were sandy, but there were holes, like a ton of holes, reminded me of animal burrows. I asked my parents about them. My mom said not to bother with them in case there were any skunks. My dad said he didn't know what they were, probably just burrows. I had an animal tracking book I'd read cover to cover several times, and none of the holes really looked like what I'd known to be home to woodland creatures that lived here. I guess, yeah, they could have just been burrows, but it rubbed me the wrong way. The way that there were so many of them. And I mean, we were on this road for a very long time, and they were just constant. It just felt like it didn't really make sense. Not to mention, they seemed vacant. Not that I got too close to know otherwise. Back in the woods, I could see a fence, or several fences. They were made of wire and were pretty tall. kind of like a chain link fence, but a little thinner. It's normal up here for people to fence off their property as to keep trespassers out, but this was just excessive. And it wasn't just a border, it was endless. Some parts of it would go further back into the woods. I just didn't get it. It could have been someone who was a little protective of their property, but it just felt weird and out of place. There were signs as well. So many signs. You couldn't go 20 feet without seeing one. There were so many keep out and no trespassing signs. They were staggered in the trees, some further back in the forest. Again, it's not entirely untypical for people to post signs, but whoever put these up really did not want people back there. And then, there were some weird ones too. It would say area under video surveillance and stuff like that. Signs that warned if you were to step foot in these woods, you would be seen by whoever had set up the alleged cameras. I didn't see any, but trail cams tend to be hidden pretty well. At this point, I started getting a sinking feeling in my stomach. This span of forest was literally huge. Why would they need to monitor it? At this point, it was pretty clear that this was beyond someone protective of their land. Slightly unrelated, but I also saw a wolf track, or what I think was a wolf track. It was on the side of the road in the sand, and it was fucking huge, bigger than my palm and the first joint of my fingers. But there was only one print. I pointed it out to my mom, who thought it was just a dog. My dad, who knows a bit more about the outdoors, being a hunter and all, said that it could have seemingly been a wolf, considering the size. I thought it was cool at the time, but I'm kind of just wondering why it was there, why there was only one print, and if it was even a wolf. Wolves do live in Michigan, but not really in the area. This is the very northeast Michigan I'm talking about here, Lower Peninsula. Another thing I noticed was the lack of birds and bugs. It was strangely quiet, aside from the sound of the car, the radio, and any wind. I think my mom was the only one who pointed it out. I didn't pay much attention to it personally. But then, when we decided to turn the car around at night, things got much weirder. Like, I'm talking some goosebumps shit. But this is 100% true, as cliche as it sounds. There's something just a little too threatening being outside at night on an open road when it's literally pitch black in the sky. I felt it, and my parents did too. We all had to sit inside the truck now, and we drove a little bit faster. A really thick mist settled. I'm sure this was just a coincidence, but I think it really just made everything worse and much creepier. Neither my parents or my brothers had been too sketched out on our drive to spot some deer, but now I think everyone was a bit on edge. Even with our headlights on high beam, we couldn't see 20 feet in front of the car. Now we're creeping along slowly, and I start getting really shaky. I'm pretty sure it was pouring too, but I can't say that for certain. Anyway, my dad starts whining to my mom about the hellish conditions. It's pretty clear he's frustrated. I have some earbuds in, trying to distract myself, but a couple of times he just slams on the brakes. I pull one earbud out to listen. My brothers are silent next to me, their eyes fixated on the windshield. The car jerks again as my dad hits the brakes, almost stopping. "What is it?" I ask, my mouth feeling dry. "Just a mist," he said, but he's staring forward and I can tell he's tense. I thought I saw a man. At one point we drive past some hills. That's something about Michigan. It's pretty hilly, winding roads that go up and down. That's pretty common. Anyway, at this point, we're not on the same road that we've been driving on, but we're still in the area, by the same forest and such. We're on the very top of the hill. On the right side of us is a pretty long dip, but there's a weird glow at the bottom of the hill. Remember, it's misty, so I couldn't make out what it was, but it was nothing like what a house would have looked like. I point it out and no one knows what it is. My dad jokingly tells me it's a witch house, but I'm looking at this weird glowing light and it just vanishes. Not like a light turning off, like something literally vanished. I really can't place what made it different from a light, but I knew something was completely off about it. My parents start to quietly bicker about whether or not we're lost. We've never gotten lost up here. My younger brother and I exchange worried glances in the dark car. This is the last creepy thing for the list. We see a man on the side of the road, solid this time. He's holding a fishing pole over his shoulder and walking. But the thing is, this guy is tiny. I'm talking like maybe 3 feet tall. Just walking along the side of the road, alone. Something just rubbed me the wrong way.